Well, I just managed to get hold of a strimmer off a friend of mine. It's an old stihl FS200. Runs beautifully. I've given it a good service, cleaned the filters out, cleaned the plug, etc. It starts and runs really nice. All I had to do was kind of adjust the tick over. The problem with it was there was something wrong with the head. And I have now discovered what is wrong with the head, and I'll show you now. So there's the head that just slides onto the shaft. And the problem was, when you ran the strimmer, the head wasn't spinning properly and it was making a horrible grinding noise. And the problem was, there's two kind of bevel gears. They're actually called pinion gears. So there's two pinion gears in the head. That one takes the drive from the shaft, so that one sits in there, and the other one sits on the end of that shaft, and that's what you screw your head onto, your strimming head or your brush cutter. So you've got another one that sits on there, and that is that one, so it sits that way. Now they might look okay, which to me they looked okay. That one didn't look so okay. I ordered some new parts and they have arrived, and you can see there is actually a massive difference between them. So when you compare those two, you can see what the actual problem is there. That is so worn away. You can compare these two, and this one is really worn as well, and you can tell by the faces how much metal there is on that face, or how wide that face is compared to that face. So even that one is worn. It's more worn towards the bottom. And the grooves in the gear, they're nowhere near as deep as the grooves on this one. So I ordered these parts a couple of days ago. They've literally just arrived, and I'm going to put the strimmer head back together. This little one has these two bearings on it here, and they slide down there into that shaft, and that takes the drive from the motor. Then obviously that one picks it up there and sends it onto the head. Kind of bevel gears, I call them. They call them pinion gears. They cost me, got them from L&S Engineers there in the UK, and they cost me about 36 quid just for the two bevel gears. Now a new head for one of these stihls, a genuine head, is about 85-90 quid. You can buy a Chinese one off eBay for about 30-35 quid, a complete head, but how long will it last, I don't know. You might get a month out of it before the thing smashes itself to pieces. I'm getting a little bit sick of Chinese parts. So yeah, I'm going to fit these in. So to fit, I'm going to grease them up afterwards, but the way to do it, rather than trying to literally, because you can see everything is really tight, you know, it's not gonna go in there easily, that bearing. Likewise, these bearings do not want to slide. Likewise, these bearings do not want to slide all the way down into there. And the easiest thing to do is just to heat this up with the blowtorch. That's why I'm not greasing it up yet. I'm heating it with the blowtorch, and these bearings literally just fall in. Now to start, you have to fit that bevel bearing first in the bottom of there. So that bearing has to go in first in the bottom of there, and then you slide that bearing in from the end. If you don't do it that way round, when you've put that one in, you can't get that one in. So there's just a little tip. So I'm going to slide that pinion gear and bearing in first, and when that's down and fully seated, I'm going to slide this one down onto it once I've got the bearings on. I'm going to put those two bearings together, and I'm simply just going to push them together using the vise rather than hammering them. Start off, get the first one in. A little bit crooked, that. Don't want to start it crooked. Once that one's in, push the next one onto it. I'll actually put a little bit of grease in that now. It will be quite difficult to get grease into there afterwards. I'm going to push that one onto there now as it's all nice and greasy. I can't hold it. So that's that one in. I now need an assistant. I'm going to use a socket. So I'll just find a socket that will allow that will push on the outer race of that and allow that shaft to drive through them bearings. There is a little split ring that goes on here, so all I need to do is drive the bearing down until it just clears the slot for the split ring. It's not quite there. And that is it. See that little split ring now seated on there, and that's that bearing done. So that now slides down there, and you can see it doesn't want to go because it's really tight. I suppose you could put that socket, a piece of pipe or something on there and hammer it, but it's just so much easier to just to heat that up and everything drops in really nice. But like I said, that one's going in first. I will put a bit of grease down there just to, so there is some on that bearing. Actually, what I'll do is I will load that up with grease, I think, because this part isn't actually going to be heated up. So I will load that with grease. And that will then seat on top of that bearing, so that bottom bearing has got some grease, a load of grease behind it. So next job is just heat that up. Don't need to go too crazy. Probably do this with a hot air gun. Might take a little bit longer, but yeah, probably do it with a hot air gun. Aluminium soaks up heat really well and it travels through aluminium really fast. It's smoking now, so I think that'll probably be enough heat. Kind of soon see. See? Straight in, no problem. There's another split ring goes in there as well. Give that a tap, make sure it's seated, which it is, and it's just below the lip of where the split ring goes in. So while it's hot, So while there's heat in this, still in this, I'm going to stick that one in there. You can't see it now, can you guys? Put it there. I'm going to apply some more heat to this, and then I can get this guy down into there. Not quite warm enough. I think that should do it. Not a problem. Beautifully. And that is also in just below the groove for the split ring. I'm now turning the gear on the head, and you can see it's spinning beautifully now. So I've just got to put those two split rings in and just let that head slowly cool down. While this head is still warm, you can buy a tube that kind of threads onto this thread, and so you can pump grease in there. I don't have one, so whilst this grease is warm, or the head's warm, I'm just going to put a load of grease in there, which will maybe melt through a little bit. Just tighten the screw cap up. And I should imagine that is a pretty essential part of maintenance on these strimmer heads. It's probably why that gearing went. There wasn't adequate grease or lubrication in there. If you think of the spinning, the amount of revs that thing's creating and the heat that's building up inside. So what I will do is I'll run that for probably 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll re-grease it. I'll see if I can get any more grease in. I'll just keep loading it until it's full. And I think that should be sweet. Let's try it out.